I was drinking because as soon as I woke up in the morning, I hated myself. I had so much guilt and shame and discomfort. I'm completely screwed. There's nothing I can do to stop this demon. 2019 started to have panic attacks where I never had a panic attack before. Shortly before I got sober, I came out of a blackout with 7 Mesa police officers pointing their guns in my face, screaming inaudible commands at me. And I looked around this apartment as I went to my knees, and there was a couple windows broken. I didn't know where I was. There was blood all over the apartment. And I just remember the sinking feeling of you finally did something where you're going away forever. I don't want to make the story too long, but that my ex-girlfriend had come over, put her hand through the window, trying to get me to come out, cut herself and blooded.
All right, welcome back to the Plugged In Recovery Podcast. I'm super excited today. I have a good friend of mine and another treatment center owner. JP is Monument Recovery. You've seen Cassie. They're amazing partners, people that we get a lot of insight from. I know we talk about industry things that are going on all the time, and to finally get to sit down with you and kind of talk about it, I'm super excited about it. I know you guys will be too. JP, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's my first pod, so as soon as it officially started, I got a little bit nervous. But no, I'm excited to be here. Always happy to sit with you. And yeah, JP, alcoholic's probably the best way to introduce myself. 14 years sober and owner of Monument. We've been up and running for a couple of years. And yeah, it's been great to get to know you throughout that time period. And that's one of the coolest things I think about owning and starting a treatment center is what I didn't consider is the new community that would evolve around me and the new group of friends and owners and like-minded people who are, in this industry to be of service to others and chasing that juice. So yeah, it's good to be here, man.
I'm super pumped to have you. And I think it's super cool that we get to do these types of things.
Yeah.
We get to golf together. We get to develop these types of relationships. Me and you have a very similar story, both coming out of kind of the tech world, actually working at the same company at one point together, but starting in a treatment space, a new kind of path and direction forward. So I guess before we get to where we're at today, let's go back to kind of JP, the alcoholic. Tell me about that, how you got into recovery.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. I mean, it's the same story that you hear a lot. I love drugs and alcohol from the second I ingested them into my body from 11 years old on. I grew up, I guess always feeling different, had a lot of pharmaceuticals given to me and what's wrong with JP? We got to get control of this ADHD, this and that. And as soon as I smoked weed, I was like, this is my medicine. This is where's this been? And I chased that relief and that feeling for another, I got sober when I was 26. So another 15 years or so. Weed progresses into the next drug. When I was young, I had an older brother and he had a bunch of older friends. And so, by 14, 15, we were probably listening to too much Tupac in the suburbs and thought we were cool and we were selling drugs and boosting cars and just really chasing the dark side was always very, very appealing to me. Let's not go to school. Let's what can we do wrong? What can I never had no in my vocabulary. Anything that someone put on the table from any age, I tried and I did and, used about every drug along the way. And God, by probably 19 was a full-blown, I was a drug addict and alcoholic very young, but by 19 it was completely unmanageable. The drugs kind of phased out, but alcohol and Xanax were still my jam. And I did a lot of geographics. Trying to get sober. I loved to blow something up and then get in my truck and take off to another state. It was very exciting for me. It was usually with a woman or, maybe a friend or a job, but usually it's all right, this thing exploded. That was really, really bad. Let's get out of here. So I moved into the woods in Wyoming when I was 20, working in a national park. That's when kind of daytime drinking started, and that was the beginning of the end. When you're drinking half a handle to a handle of vodka a day, not eating, your body starts to shut down. It's just not manageable, I think back then I had a lot of self-pity behind it of why am I like this? Why can't I drink like other people? Now I'm it got me sober very young, so I'm super grateful for that, that I didn't have to be 40, 50, whatever, getting sober. Towards that tail end, you're drinking to stay, or I was drinking to stay well. I was drinking because as soon as I woke up in the morning, I hated myself. I had so much guilt and shame and discomfort, guilt and shame for the stuff that I did when I was drinking that I felt was, unforgivable or whatever it is. Yeah, just massively uncomfortable until I took that first drink, right? And then when you start day drinking, you're well, I never have to have a hangover again. I just never stopped, And then from there, I ended up in Vail, Colorado. I mean, in my opinion, was living the life, doing well. I was a snowboard bum. I was drinking all day. I was still working. But that all came crashing down. And when I was 21, my parents came up to visit and did an intervention on me with my ex-girlfriend at the time I was living in. Couldn't hold a job, living in my ex-girlfriend's mom's basement in Colorado Springs. They pulled an intervention. I came home to get sober. All right, babe, I'll be back in 30 days. I'm going to go get sober. No big deal. I had no idea how difficult it was going to be to stop. I'd never tried to stop because in my head still, I wasn't an alcoholic at that point. It was I love to drink. I can control this. I can stop anytime I want. I'll show you. So I go home and I stop drinking, and you fast forward a day and a half, and I'm at my parents' house, just stopped drinking. We don't know anything, right? And I just black out, totally sober, but blacked out into DTs and woke up in ICU 6 days later. Almost died, maybe a heart attack, I don't know, but a bunch of hard shit, enough stuff to put me in ICU for 6 days and just full DTs. And I was I don't even know what detoxing is, right? And neither did they. I remember laying in that hospital bed, I was they were telling me what the last 6 days was like. I was I'm never gonna drink again. There's no way you could, right? I am done, 100%. That's the scariest shit I've ever heard. I don't remember how fast I drank that time. Sometimes I'd get out of the hospital and it'd be within an hour, but I was drunk shortly after discharging rain. And then I realized it was one of my kind of step one experiences of just oh shit, I can't stop. If that's not going to stop me, what's going to stop me, And that's the hopelessness, I think, behind step one, right? Is I'm completely screwed. There's nothing I can do to stop this demon. And man, it was another 3-4 years of absolute chaos. That was kind of a mild example. That was one of the more chaotic examples, but that was a Tuesday in my life, man. Just in and out of jail, in and out of the hospital. I went to detox, 40 times. I got kicked out of the CBI, the community detox back then, 18 years ago. It's a little bit different now. 86 me, I couldn't go there anymore because I went there too much, right? And I remember that was another thing. It was I got kicked out of the community detox. You dirtbag, you loser. You are at the bottom of the bottom. You can't even go to the free places, And I don't know, man, I just, as bad as life got, it's still the only tool I had to escape that was alcohol. I couldn't find anything else. I went to a couple of meetings, hated being there. My parents would drop me off at a meeting. I'd go to the bar for 45 minutes, come back to the meeting, they'd pick me up. I just wasn't ready. I couldn't hear what anybody said. Went to treatment a couple times, Again, not ready. But I went to treatment, I was always teach me how to drink normally. I had no, just not ready. I remember my mom asking me, actually, after one treatment center, they flew me up to Washington State, spent a bunch of money, brought me back. It was Christmas Eve. They were so happy to have you back. They went up for this family week. It was heavy and intense. And again, I'm done. Firm resolution to never touch it again. There's nothing, so gun to the head. I'm not drinking vodka anymore, And I got drunk on Christmas Eve, and I remember my mom, 2 days after we got back, I remember my mom crying and just asking me why? Why'd you do it? Why? And just being out of hustle, being out of bullshit, being out of excuses, not believing these excuses anymore myself, and just being I have no idea why. I don't know. I don't know why I keep doing it. And again, that's a dark place to sit by yourself, really, because you're alone when you're drinking and using. And then the last story I'll tell is before I got sober is shortly before I got sober, I came out of a blackout with 7 Mesa police officers pointing their guns at my face, screaming inaudible commands at me. It was like a movie. Their mouths were moving, but there was no voice coming out. I'd been blacked out for I don't know how long. At this point, I would black out for a week or more because I was just taking so much Xanax and drinking. I wouldn't remember weeks at a time, But the adrenaline of that moment snapped me out of this drunkenness and this blackout. And I just remember thinking, okay, I could run, get shot. If I go towards them, I'm going to get shot. We knew multiple people who'd been killed from the Mesa Police Department. They just kill you. They shoot you first like that. That is their training. And I looked around this apartment as I went to my knees, and there was a couple windows broken. I didn't know where I was. There was blood all over the apartment. And I just remember the sinking feeling of you finally did something where you're going away forever, and thinking could I have killed somebody? Right? And but the utter terror of not knowing what happened and what situation I was in. And they handcuffed me and took me downstairs and did explain that I don't want to make the story too long, but that my ex-girlfriend had come over, put her hand through the window, trying to get me to come out, cut herself, and blood had spilled everywhere. And the neighbors thought that was a gunshot when they heard that. So I ended up getting uncuffed and not getting in trouble at all. It was not necessarily anything I did, but I also remember bro, like I said, this is Tuesday.
Yeah.
This is your life. Like, you're constantly getting in these altercations with police, and I'd spent, a few months in county jail, and just like, but that mixed with it was just with certainty, it hit me like, you're going to die soon. Like, you're 25 or 26 years old. Like, the hustle is up. You're going to wander into traffic. You're going to get a car accident or talk crap to the wrong guy, and like, you're going to die soon. And that was enough. I didn't go to rehab the last time. I moved into Crossroads. They said, get a sponsor, do a step a week, or you have to leave. It was August, right? August 14th, 2010. So God willing, coming up on an anniversary in a week, 15 years. And that's what I did. And that's what they told me to do in other treatment centers too, man. But like, I just wasn't ready. And I got that sponsor, and I did a step a week, really just so I had a place to live. I did not believe in Alcoholics Anonymous at all. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to talk about God. I didn't want to do any of the shit that they asked me to do, but I did it because I was desperate. I couldn't go on the way I was living. And it's the only thing that ever took the obsession to drink. It was the only thing that ever was like, I don't want it anymore, And that was the beginning of sobriety and the rad, beautiful life that I have today.
That is so cool. I mean, so many things in there, right? So many things I have questions about. Not only is the first thing that just comes to mind is like, how did you get these women to stay with you?
Yeah.
So you're living in a basement, they're pounding through doors, everything like that.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm very attractive.
I was going to say, I mean, I kind of knew why, but.
No, when you're unhealthy, whether you're an alcoholic or not, but, let's just say for alcohol, you're dating unhealthy women. Like, most of them were all alcoholics.
Yeah.
That's the ticket. You find a good, unhealthy alcoholic. If they weren't alcoholic, their parents were alcoholics. For me, they usually had a college degree and a job, so I could drink at home while they worked. Like, I was just a manipulative person who, stayed in these relationships to be able to live the life I want to live. And anybody who's going to date somebody like that, that they've got their own baggage, But there was always, I was empty inside. So the last 2 years of my drinking, no relationship because I was undateable, but like, I am empty inside. When I wake up in the morning, I'm empty.
Yeah.
I need alcohol. I need somebody else around so I'm okay. Like, very much codependent. Needed that value coming from someone else because inside of me, it was just self-hatred.
I love that. And I think the other piece of your story that I really relate to, and it's something that we try to drive home so much to people, even in our program, is that moment you had with your mom where you said, I don't know why I do this. Because I'm sure you guys see it all the time, and we definitely do, but they come in and it's an excuse for everything. And it's, I did this because of that, right? And you can see that's the disease fighting with their brain is you ask them a question and their first response is like a lot. Because the truth is you have no idea why you do this. It's because you have to do it, right? Step one, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. So I think that's super cool, even though planting that seed and then later on having to take some action to get out of it. So fast forwarding to where you're at right now, what made you want to start Monument and like develop the program you guys have? Phenomenal program, phenomenal people. Your culture of people first, serving people, I think is something that is so commendable, something that we try to copy. That is a culture-driven initiative in general.
Yeah.
Core value for you guys is 100%.
Yeah.
But tell me about that. Tell me, like, where did Monument start from?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a multitude of things. I think that, I got sober, and shortly after I got sober, maybe a year in, the woman I was dating who became my wife got pregnant, and it was like, all right, it's time to grow up, time to get a real job. Never really had a real job. I'd always been in sales in one capacity or another, but anyways, it was like, all right, it's time to get a real job, and I started working at GoDaddy. I always did really good in sales, climbed the ladder, and ended up at a different tech company, and was really kind of like, by every sense of the word, like more successful than I could have ever imagined, right? I didn't go to college school's never my thing, just always kind of had hustle and grit, and so sales treated me really well, but I do remember the last couple of years of that sales job, not being in a good mental place, and I think that was for a multitude of reasons. One, sitting in a room by myself all day, COVID hit, everybody worked from home. I'd been working from home since 2018 though, so I was 3-4 years into working from home, and I just need to be around people. We all biologically, even introverts, right? People underestimate that you just can't not be around people that much. Back in 2019, I started reading probably a few too many business books, and I realized I don't want to be an employee forever. That was a big impact, and we started a couple of businesses in a couple of different, industries that I wouldn't say they failed. My interest in them fizzled out, right? When you have to build a business because you have a family on the side of your 9-to-5, you only have so much hustle for it, right? You only have so much time. And I really those things I started weren't my passion. And so after 3 to 6 months, I just kind of, cash out or give up on it. But the true story is, which I didn't tell much the first year or so of getting into Monument, maybe a little bit out of fear or judgment or whatever, which I've been telling the story more often, is 2019 started to have panic attacks kind of out of nowhere. Never had a panic attack before. 2020 COVID hit, got a little weirder. And then by 2022 was really having like debilitating panic attacks. Pretty much agoraphobic. Like I didn't want to leave the house anymore because I'm like, well, what if I go here and have a panic attack or go there and have a panic attack? Really, like I had no idea what was happening. I just thought I was losing my mind. Like I knew they were panic attacks, but like, why can't I stop them? When you have them, they last an hour and then you got to sleep for a day. Like all of a sudden I'm taking leave from work. It got really, really bad. So I remember I didn't know what to do. My wife took me to a psych hospital. They checked me into a psych hospital. 10 minutes into that, it's like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. This was a terrible mistake. And now I'm here for 3 days because I wasn't suicidal. I just didn't know. I didn't know where to go, man. Where do you go when you literally can't stop having panic attacks? I didn't know anything about treatment. I didn't know anything. I didn't know there's mental health treatment. Like, go see a therapist once a week. That's all I knew. So I ended up talking to a friend of ours who got me into Cottonwood, Tucson. And so I went down there in June of 2022 and got all the answers I was looking for. I understood why my nervous system was doing what it was doing. I understood my childhood trauma and like why I'm living up here all the time. It's so easy for me to snap into a panic attack. So 2 things happened there. Well, 3 really. 1 is the understanding what was going on. Okay, you're not losing your mind. There's an explanation. 2, here's how you fix it. And 3, treatment is rad. Like rehab is dope. I remember about the last week I was there, I was like, or maybe the second to last week, I was like, I might quit my job and become a BHT. Like, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, dude, there's no possible way you can do that. Like, you can't take a pay cut like that. And then the last week, I was like, I want to start a treatment center. I was like, I don't know what that means at all, but I want to be around this all day. And that's all I knew. And I went home in July, and by August, I had registered the LLC, and I just started to talk to a couple people that I knew in the treatment industry who's like, start an IOP, start a PHP. I had no idea what I was doing, man. And even like well into starting it, I hired a bunch of people who knew what they were doing, right? But I've always been a fan of like, just go for it and figure it out. And if you do it for the right reasons, it's going to work out. Have an ultimate faith. This is going to be okay. If you put the work in, it's going to work, right? And if you do it for the right reasons, it's going to work. 2 things. It's like, where do I find my most fulfillment in life? That's sponsoring other guys, right? And then, that experience of being in treatment and seeing what it was like. How can I surround myself with that all day, And going to school and becoming a drug and alcohol counselor, like, again, I don't like school. So this was a habit also to be an entrepreneur and not work a 9 to 5. And so I built it on the side of my 9 to 5 for 6 months and kind of piecemealed it all together. And then 6 months after that, just quit my job and I'm all in. And it was a slow first year, but like, again, the hard work, the faith that it's going to work out, the interactions that we have in there. It's just, every day I live my dream and I'm so, so grateful for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What kind of experiences did you have in that first year starting, right? Brand new industry, maybe it's even credibility. Obviously you had a lot of time sober, that helped, and in the treatment space, hadn't worked as a BHT, case manager, admissions, marketing, anything like that. What were kind of like some of those big challenges or hurdles or pivots or anything that you had to do that you would give advice to anybody on that maybe they could take with them?
Yeah. Lack of experience and education and information, There's like only so much Googling you can do in this industry. Like it doesn't really work that way. A lot of these answers aren't black and white. Got to see every single piece of there's so many different you need to pay attention to. Compliance and licensing and state regulations and federal regulations and then just all of it, man. Your electronic health records and there's so much to learn. So I feel like I'm still learning, but I feel like, and then understanding the nuances of insurance. Like I feel like it took a good year just to learn all that stuff. And we opened as a Medicaid program and then we failed. That's a piece of it too. Like I failed many, many, many times in different sections, like different paths of this. And a lot of people I know who started similar things who failed, they closed shop, right?
Yeah.
It was just never an option for me. Go home, you lick your wounds, you figure out what's next, but the obstacle is the way. Obstacles are going to happen. Failures are going to happen. Are you going to quit? And I was just never, ever going to quit. So I think that's the biggest thing, man, is like if you just don't quit and you put in that tireless work, even when something explodes, and this is really cool too, to look back on it a couple years later, the devastating thing I thought happened at the time, it was devastating. And I was like, it was so big or so bad. You fast forward a year, you're like, thank God that happened, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful that happened because now we're here and we did this and we did that. Like it's never as good or as bad as it seems. It's just, You just wake up each day and go to work and you figure it out. I think that's, the most important thing in really running any business,
And the alcoholic mind of us can catastrophize or grandiose anything. So keeping ourselves in check. And I think the true guiding star of, number one, I'm super passionate about it. And number two is all I want to do is help people. I want to do this for the right reason. So when you also have, my family depends on me to make this happen. And I know what I'm doing is a great thing. I'm helping so many people. I see a tangible result of the impact I'm making.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let this fail. And I think seeing you do that, just what you've created out of, that, like you said, the explosion that happened is so amazing to see. When you look at your overall experience, I think the biggest thing that you hit on that also excites me is the growth that we personally get to have. I'm learning something new every single day. There is a new nuance. There's a new area that I don't have expertise on that I either have to go get someone to give me expertise on. And there's so much misinformation out there, even from people who are in the space, that you ask them something and then they tell you something that's also been told to them wrong. And now we're chasing this telephone ladder of wrong information. Walk people through, just your experience on Googling stuff, probably not trusting and verifying, but or trust but verify that the information's correct. Like, what does that look like?
My answer is probably not the most efficient answer. The answer also could be the reason for some of our slower growth the first year. But my thing was just do everything yourself. Learn it all on your own. Do the credentialing by yourself. Do the licensing by yourself. I had a couple of consultants early on, which I thought I was very unhappy with the way that it went down. And that's when I just decided, like, the best way to learn all of this and to be able to teach it to whoever you're going to hire later is just to do it all yourself. And so that's really what I did. It's like, let's learn every single section of this. Like, if you want to hire a compliance officer, then have them teach you everything compliance, And that's what I spent my time doing. I wore a ton of hats the first year. I did all of our business development, did all of our marketing. I helped design the website. I did the licensing, just every piece of it, right? And now we have 25 employees who are, have taken a lot of that over, but I've been able to, can't trust Google. You can't trust exactly. You don't know, like, if the information you're getting is accurate. So even that, fact check everything. My rule in business and in life, like business and AA, it's like run it by 3 people, like minimum. So if I have like an idea, run it by 3 people. Or I need a piece of advice on a relationship or a career move, or like run it by 3 people. Get 3 different perspectives. But more importantly than that, in business, run it by people who've done it before. I don't take advice from people who haven't done it. I had a lot of people early on in business who were just like, don't do that. It's too risky, or this or that. It's like, I'm only taking that advice from someone who's done what I'm asking about, And I do that. It's just like taking advice from a married guy if you need relationship advice, so on and so forth. So I pay a lot of attention to who I'm asking and understanding that nobody's really an expert, maybe unless they work for the government regulation that's or DHS or something like that. So talk to a lot of people, get a lot of different answers and opinion, and more importantly, like learn that stuff on your own.
How did you build your culture? Because I really love your guys' culture. I think that's something that we spent a lot of time on in the beginning ourselves. We actually just went through a whole thing as an organization on rebuilding core values, our mission, vision, everything kind of getting repositioned. What was your guys' process for some of that? And is it something that you're still kind of reiterating, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it was definitely like it grew. That piece of Monument grew. It wasn't there from the beginning. What was always there that I said to every staff member is a few different things. One, we take a service-first approach on every interaction that we have here. From when we answer the phone for the admissions call, to when they come in, to when they're calling you a name and freaking out, to when, doesn't matter. Your job here as an employee is to be of service, right? And I'll say that in the interview. Can you get behind that? How's that feel to you? I will gauge people's responses to that question. Are they a person, a lot of them are sober. Like, are you of service? Did you take what you want from AA and not give it back, And whatever, if you're still sober, okay. But like, if we, a couple different things. If we have a service-first approach, we're not going to be reactive. We're not going to meet these people where they're at, right? I remember day 3 in rehab. I was a psycho, right? Like, I was emotionally unstable. That mixed with people pick up the phone. I don't care who they are or where they are. I'm talking to a mom, and I'm going to help her any way I can because it's a service-first approach. I'm not just, oh, well, we don't take your insurance. Good luck to you. Like, I still am in touch with some of those parents. I answered all the admissions calls the first year. I'm still in touch with plenty of those parents. A few of them never came to us, right? I had to help any way you can. Be of service any way you can. I believe that in every area of life. So I was like, I know that needs to be a part of this company, and that's going to make everything better. And then last year, so about a year and a half in, we really spent more time last kind of preparing for this year's kickoff of let's establish our core values. Let's establish our mission statement. For us, it's grit, community, service. But so we have our core values, and we really spent a lot of time on that for, to kick off 2025. And I put that everywhere, and I talk about it in most meetings. And grit is a big part of no matter what job title you have here, what separates successful people from unsuccessful people is usually grit. It's usually that ability to not stop, to not give up, to persevere, to work hard. I don't expect everybody in my company to work as hard as me, but do you have that grit to really continue? You can get burned out on even service, right?
Yeah.
This is the industry. So anyways, really talk about what is our company here for, and I want all of us to win together. You have a very similar outlook on I believe that as you win as a company, your company should win together. Pay people above average, do profit share, do these things where people love to work for you. And that's what I've seen. We haven't had somebody quit Monument in a year and a half. Nobody quits from the bottom to the top. And that shows me that it's working. We get great feedback from the patients that shows me that it's working, about the staff and about the way it feels different, and they don't feel like a number and that kind of stuff. And I think that's because of how we answer the phone and because of how we say goodbye 90 days later. It's everything in between,
What's next for Monument? Where do you want to see it?
I don't know, man. I mean, we got a lot of different. 2025 was a year of just we opened the RTC almost exactly a year ago. We started out with IOP and PHP level of care for the first year and a half. Then we opened the RTC, and that's been going really good. So yeah, 2025 was not a year for expansion or growth for us, really, besides just having a steady full census. Let's find more people we can help. Let's look at more avenues to find more people that we can help. And, that's really what we've been focused on this year. And the growth has been good, even though we're not expanding levels of care. Yeah, I think for Monument, really, I'm interested in different markets and different locations. We like the out-of-network space. We like the commercial insurance space. Again, we've done Medicaid and we've done commercial, and we like being smaller and having the smaller family feel and less beds and more impact. And again, I mean, I can talk to 10 moms at a time, but can I talk to 100? I don't know. I don't know how many beds I want. I need some free time. But yeah, I think looking into different markets and kind of spreading that out too, because things can kind of vary from market to market and state to state. And if one thing I learned from these conferences I go to and talking to other owners in different states is it diversifies kind of the space a little bit to where if one area in one market's struggling a little bit, then I think that's what is next for us. 2026 is a different city. And then
what cities are planned out? What cities are
I like
catch
the
your
Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Yeah. Seattle, Portland, Montana. We have a lot of roots in my family in Montana. I go to Montana often, going there in a couple of weeks again. So yeah, something like that. Somewhere cooler, somewhere north. Haven't dug too much on metrics or anything just yet. So I think that'll really be kind of the deciding factor is when you start to get into that analytics. We come from a tech background. I am a data nerd, man. It's where I spend my time. I want organizing it or analyzing it or wondering why it's wrong because I never believe it also. Even though it's I'm prepared. I'm this can't be right. That's what I'll rely upon when it comes time to expand.
I love it. Well, how do people find JP?
Yeah, you can email me directly anytime, jp@monumentrecovery.com. That's our website, monumentrecovery.com. We have an OTC in Mesa off of Southern and Extension, and then we were lucky enough to get our RTC a mile away from there. So yeah, man, hit me up, hit Cassie up for a tour. We love, like I said, one of the coolest things about side effect of this is growing that network of friends and sober people. And I love going to these lunches and these events and these symposiums and these golf tournaments. It's I doubled or tripled my community size by getting into this space. So it's cool to be in an industry where you're working, but it's most people are sober. It's rad, dude. I love it.
How's the golf game?
Good. Shot 79 today.
Okay. Yep. At the country club?
At Mesa Country Club.
Where your new guys' spot's going to be?
Yeah.
When's
our
that
new
opening?
Our new OTC is going to open September 1st.
Okay.
And yeah, it overlooks the third hole of Mesa Country Club. So
lucky.
It's a big space that they've been building for 8 months now. Very, very excited. I've never had my own office. I've been doing this 2.5 years. I've never had my own office. So I'm finally getting my own office and got my own workspace. And we're all piled on top of each other in the RTC, which is cool. We sit around and laugh and have a great time, and we're with the clients and all that stuff. But it'll be nice to get a little space and be able to work a little more efficiently.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll see you